rite of passage is back and it is better than ever. Starting February 16th this year, you'll get to enter to try and get your chance to make XGS. With just a $50 entry fee, you get direct invite to our round robin stage where it is best of threes for every game, making sure every single chance, every game, every round has the most meaning possible. The best teams in the round robin group stage will make it on to our single elimination playoffs, where they can fight for not only a chance for the lion's share of a $1,000 plus grand prize, but also a chance, a direct invite to the next season of XGS. Signups close February 13th, just 3 days before the event actually starts, so make sure you gather your teammates, friends, and sign up, because this is your chance to make a name in the scene. Are you ready? Find out here.
I mean, we saw cinema. We're back after a little bit. We get even more cinema. I mean, what more can you ask for in your first couple of games there? I mean, how do you at least feel after that last one there?
I feel pretty good. I thought that was a good game to start off Playday number 3, and I think this game specifically, especially for what it means for LFO, I think that this game could also be a really good one. I think that all of the pressure, even though a lot of people may talk about SSG ACAD just because of how story they are within T2 and now in T3, since this team is full of underagers, they cannot participate in Element, or at least for right now they can't. For LFO, the pressure is truly on them. They are thought to be one of the best T2 teams. They have some of the best players within T2, and it's a mystery because for right now, what we saw from LFO, especially in the standings, they have not gotten a single win in XGS. Like, they lost totally bad against Unity in the last Playday, and in their first Playday of the season, they played Guns & Co., where they were the favorites, and they still lost that game 8-7 in OT.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I casted that one. It was a tough one to watch. We saw Uzi drop 20, and he still couldn't pull it out. I mean, it feels like all the pieces there. It feels like everything should line up here. It should line up to be a truly superstar team that should dominate, but it just hasn't come together. And you got to wonder, you know, in a game like this, as you mentioned, it's very do or die. I think if they fail here, it's really going to start to ask questions about where do they sit among those top tier 2 teams.
Yeah, because for LFO, ever since like Element 6 started, they won Element 5. Going into Element 6, when Rival and Focal were on this team, they were thought to be the favorites. Any appearance that was less than a grand final was considered a failure. They didn't even make it past Spaceships in a lower bracket. They didn't make it to LAN. And that kind of would have hurt for them. I know during SI LCQs, because of Rival leaving, they had to pick up Solo, who didn't really have a team after Freaky Frogs disbanded. And then after Focal left for unknown reasons, Uzi joined this team. Both of Solo and Uzi come from that Freaky Frogs roster that had good success during the Swiss stage of Element 6, but of course they disbanded during the middle of playoffs. These are supposed to be really good pickups. And at the moment, they really, apart from Uzi in that first game, they haven't really clicked to find any success individually for Orgless, especially Solo, which I'm kind of surprised by because he's really good.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to wonder. But, well, you see the other group here, a pretty strong group overall. I think Kaysen has maybe performed a little bit less than expectations so far. He still had his good games and good moments, but I think compared to maybe what he originally had, a little bit less there. Obviously, new competition, a lot of harder people he has to go against. And you want to highlight Adept. I'm not mistaken, one of the youngest players to ever even touch a team of this level. I think I'm not mistaken, he's only 15.
Yeah, Adept is 15. I believe Scary is like either 17, maybe 17. I don't want to go higher than that because I don't think he's 18, but I think he's 17. And I remember Scary got like his big break, at least the moment that I recognized him, was during season 7 of XGS, which was all the way in 2024. Yes, we're in season 8, but season 7 happened like a year ago, or about over a year ago. So yeah, Scary is like a really good prospect within the tier 3 scene. He's still underage, Penguin is also somebody who's kind of like found his way into this roster. He's not the Penguin, the one from Parabellum, but he's still like a good prospect within the T3, T2 scene. Retro is also kind of has a bunch of experience. He's the oldest player on this roster. And just like how there are expectations of LFO to succeed, the same applies to SSG ACAD in Tier 3.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that really you have to show out what you were told for. SSG Academy is a big name to carry. I mean, just the brand, the label alone is so much pressure. And same for LFO, as you mentioned. This is a game that matters a lot to the top here. It matters so much to prove who you are and how good you really can stand against these top big teams here. And we're gonna have to see it all done on a map as beautiful as Nighthaven.
Yeah, and I'm kind of not, I guess I'm not totally shocked. I know LFO at one point did play a bunch of labs, but so far this year, along with Border, labs has been a permaban for LFO. Border is a map that they ban quite a lot. So is Lair, so is Fortress. Fortress is not a map, along with Lair, that LFO are willing to test out. But to see us go to labs over Clubhouse, I guess that makes a lot of sense, because the last time LFO played Clubhouse, that was the Send Guns and Code game, where Send Guns, at least in the first 3 attacking rounds on Clubhouse, kind of abused the passive defensive holds that like LFO were using against them. And that's something that SSG ACAD, especially with the aggression and the firepower that they have with these prospects, they can abuse that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think another thing for LFO is it was a lot of struggle on that map internally, as you did mention. And you had Uzi, who had probably one of the greatest games I've seen from him. 20 bomb. He really did everything he could to keep his team in the fight there. And I think it was smart. You cannot expect a player like Uzi is great, but expecting him to drop a 20 bomb to keep you alive is a bit extreme. So I like the idea. Ban it away, even if maybe it is a good map in your general history. Just play it safe here. Go to a map that everyone knows and really try to show that your basics can make you that best team.
Yeah, thing is though, LFO do start off on the attack, which has been a struggle bus for them. And if you're wondering why earlier I was talking specifically about like Solo and Uzi, like Solo has had like some really tough times as like an entry player, which is what he's made to do. And I don't know what that's down to. I don't really think it's down to him personally, because he was a really good entry player for JJ's teams, Fluffy Aimers. He's a really good entry as well for Freaky Frogs during their run in Spoit Contenders, and also during Element 6 as well. He was pretty consistent. But for LFO recently, he kind of has his okay games, and he has his like really, really bad games where he's doing terrifically bad on entry. That was something that he struggled against with Send Guns and Co. So that's what I'm going to be looking forward to on this attack here for LFO as they start off labs, because you really do need your entry players to be quite successful on this map. If Solo has a tough game on entries, especially with how good the firepower additions have been for SSG ACAD, they really haven't found that consistency quite yet, but it's, again, something that SSG ACAD could abuse against LFO.
Yeah, and I do want to point out, as you mentioned, they haven't really quite found their perfect stride yet, but that it feels like it's a ticking time bomb almost. Like, if we do see SSG ACAD really lock in there, and it feels like all of them can click and find that rhythm, they're about as terrifying as a team gets. You have a bunch of very young, very hungry players who want to win big, and this is on their perfect stage to do it. And as I say, that we get into our beautiful game here, and bans first come out. Not a big surprise, honestly.
No,
you expect
really.
the ace, you expect the paid.
Yeah. Let's see what they ban next. Bandit. Yeah, okay. I was thinking it was going to be a bandit. There's usually, like, because Labs plays out very similarly to Clubhouse, for example, hard breaching is kind of a necessity for this map. And it can be quite difficult, especially when every single wall is open to defend a top 4 site. I know, shocker, that means you have no space to play in. And so to kind of get rid of like some of the primary hard breach operators is a priority for the defense. But just as, keeping the walls closed for the defense is a priority for them, getting the walls open is a priority for the attack. The easiest way to do that is if you have no hard breach now to play against. And that's why Kaid and Bandit are off the board. You still have Mute to play against, but he doesn't really he doesn't deny Well, he does deny Habano, but he does not deny like the hard breach gadgets anymore. And he also doesn't really deny Grim.
Yeah, and it could be an issue. We'll see. But for now, I'm not surprised by what SSG Academy brought. We've seen this from them before. It's very similar to their previous setups on the side of Nighthaven Labs. I think Retro on the Clash has been, I like it. I really like what he can do there in terms of using that Clash to just continue to make it hard to claim any space and really just be that big wall, be that big intel almost for the group of SSG Academy. So it's be interesting to see how he can play, but there's also a bit of an issue here. Obviously, Franklin playing that Blackbeard could become a bit hard to do much of anything if Retro does play that Clash right, does use that electricity right, could make his life hard.
Yeah, I think with Franklin as well, the focus is going to be quite literally a default take towards, or a defaultish take towards IT and Raptors. You may send the Blackbeard either like through the Raptors window, or you may send them towards top blue to contest for map control there. In the meantime, it's kind of slow going for Orgless so far. They've opened up the wall, and that's really they've opened up the walls like IT breach and like connector walls, but that's really about it so far.
Yeah, and a bit of a slow start is fine. We've certainly seen the aggression at points from Orgless there, where they can really move in fast. So it's not too big to worry about. But it can still obviously have its issues. If you don't give it any ample time, it could find big flaws later on. But Penguin will at least find that first here. He continues to play this warehouse here just pretty aggressively and absolutely have issues. A nade comes in, but he's not going to be finished off by that. It's an absolute madness comes in as Inrio will do it. He's going aggressive. They're taking some shots onto Adept as, I mean, in a very weird chain of events, you do end up with a one-player advantage for SSG Academy, but a lot of control loss on that warehouse side.
Yeah, and they also lose the Blitz in the process. Like I said, the Blitz was gonna, or not Blitz, sorry, the Blackbeard was gonna be used to take Raptors control, but he didn't get a kill, and Penguin walks away with 2. So he takes away a bunch of the attacker's utility here. He doesn't completely shut off Raptors. Orgless still have control of it, and they're gonna use it quite well.
Uzi, as you just mentioned there, Uzi finds his first there. Certainly, I think a lot of potential for him to go big, but Kaysen with a nasty swing. Sometimes at the end of the day, you just got to have the better gun skill there. And it seems like that was the case, but now you have a 3v2. Uzi had a big game in his last play day, but he needs to go huge here to find something big happen. He needs to find this big showing, but instead of C4 from Kaysen, will do it. Doesn't even need the gun for this one. He uses the intel with the Clash. Good old combo there, and at the end of the day, it's a safe play. I think at a point like this, you just want to start it off safe. Don't go for the aggressive swing. Just use the utility you know you have, and just play what you know best.
Yeah, and at least for SSG ACAD, I really like the way that they played the late round in that situation. They outnumbered the guy on Raptors, who, I'm gonna be totally honest, being alone on Raptors with Diffuser is kind of crazy, because it's very common for defensive teams, especially aggressive ones like SSG ACAD, who are very confident in their gun skill, to just retake space around like Raptors and IT. That's exactly what they did. They two-man powered the only guy on top of IT. They dropped the kit, and from that point forward, LFO really had no other plans. They couldn't grab the diffuser because that obviously has a bunch of people around it. They lost map control, and they really had no point of execution. So yeah, like a really good late round power there from SSG ACAT to shut everything down there from Orgless. It's a good first round of game.
Yeah, I mean, 5 seconds left. We'll see, obviously, I think, how it plays out, because I think these first rounds can be indicative, and it has generally been the case for Orgless. I think that whenever you see those first rounds, it generally shows the story that you're about to see from them in total. But I've also seen the exact opposite of SSG Academy. Consistently, where they'll start off strong, but won't quite finish it out. So now it's going to be a bit of what comes next. And it seems Penguin will at least continue that, as the entries do come flowing in the direction they wish. That'll make it a good start here. One player advantage, and more importantly, your roam can be pretty unchecked now, as no Doku is on the board to really try to control it, corral it into a better area.
And the thing is that like Dokubi, especially with the DMR, and Uzi's this type of player as well, Dokkaebi is meant to be a cut player, so if you successfully push players off of the second floor, which they're trying to do now, and you push them into the first floor, you make the first floor players uncomfortable enough, you can put them in the cutoffs for like the lounge hallway cutoff or even the forklift hall cutoff on that window. You just lost a cut player off. You just lost a cut player very early. Nobody here on Orgless is gonna play that cutoff just because that's not what the lineup currently is envisioned to do. That was Uzi's job. So yeah, it's already a really bad start for Orgless, and it means that going for this roam clear is gonna be a little bit weaker now. Not only because they lost that cut player, but like you highlighted, they lost to Dokkaebi.
Yeah, and it seems like the bodies start to clump up there more towards that kitchen side. That'll be the play, we can assume, later into the round there as they get everything ready. They're just kind of, once again, prepping with the drones, with the intel before all the madness ensues. But Spiff maybe doesn't know how many bodies lie here. Scary and Penguin both just waiting for the moment they can find something. And it's kind of just a waiting period here where everyone knows there's a body close by. They want to play it smart. You already see that first fight come in. Spiff doesn't even know where he is yet. C4 goes wide. He'll find something there. If the Ram goes down, Franklin sort of pushed back here. He really now has to commit even harder going for a post plant, but a shotgun play from above makes this impossible now. Your diffuser is down on the ground, solo. They 1v4.
Okay.
Someone needs to make miracles happen. He seems trying to do so.
Yeah, this is, oh man, I mean, he trapped himself totally in assembly. How is he supposed to get out apart from like jumping out of the window or going through single door? This is like going to be super difficult. Luckily he sledged, so he can sledge his way through, but this is going to be super bad because now every eye is trained on you, and SSG ACAD have numbers advantage.
And I think the bigger issue is they can just run away at this point if they want to. Maybe not the SSG Academy way, but if you wanted, you could literally just run yourself 40 yards in the other direction, and there's not much you can do in a case like this. Is we'll at least find one more, searching for the ace here, but with 10 seconds left. Someone needs to either see the greatest shot ever or miracles happening. It doesn't seem like either will, as Retro finish, SSG Academy start off 2-0 now. Much better start than previous games, and a much better look for them.
Yeah, and the end round there for LFO got a little bit weird. I kind of see the vision that they were trying to go for. Because of, I guess, how many resources there were around like lounge and forklift hall, maybe they thought they could like cheat the roam, put somebody on a cutoff on storage window, and then just like go down exosuit and then try and get a plant off that way. They couldn't even really get into exosuit, let alone get past it. You know, SSG ACAD, they made that super difficult. You know, they have all of these resources, vert control, they still have a ton of utility on site as well. They made it so that like LFO really had like no clean way to enter, and it's no surprise that in the opening 2 rounds, just because of how odd the mid to late round has looked for LFO, they take a tech timeout just to talk things out.
Yeah, I mean, you can still do. I think you can still do wonders, especially if this timeout comes in here and you do well. It's only 2 rounds in, so I get it's a little bit gung ho here. I mean, from the group Orgless, so you're putting a lot of chips on a good resurgence here, and controlling it through the half change. So it's a lot of pressure for the timeout here. This is one of these rounds there where you can confirm you are doing great. That timeout really did help you reset the issues, or it could really start closing the game and really start making this game feel like an inevitable SSG Academy win if it doesn't go well here.
Yeah, and, you know, it's been a good start for SSG ACAD. I don't really, to be honest, I think in their opening 2 games, they've kind of had issues with maybe starting off well, like against the, well, no, Boss Egg Nation, they did get 1 round. They got the first round, and then didn't really have that great of an attacking path after that. Kind of collapsing, like you mentioned, in the mid to late round when they do get a man advantage, and just like experiencing issues with players like Snake. You don't really have those type of players on LFO. These are good players, they're good T2 players, but you know, they haven't really clicked quite yet individually, which is something that you kind of have to highlight here if you're LFO, because like some of these players, some of these individual players have had struggles clicking together and just by themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of mentioned it beforehand, but when everything clicks, it feels like everything should be perfect for this team. I mean, on paper, both of these teams. One big round to prove that maybe it can still be that for Orgless here. I mean, this round could be massive for your team. If you can get the momentum in the right direction, you can get just everything moving how it should. How we've seen before with Orgless. It hasn't been all too long ago where they were dominating at one point. They were really proving why they hang with the best every single time, but now they're going to need to do even more here. They're really going to need to lock in. So far, it's pickless, just a minute in.
Yeah, I mean, oh wow, okay, that's a move. That is a move, and they're gonna try a second one, but he doesn't have his gun out in time. Franklin does have the kit inside of the bomb site, and Solo's here for cover. But Franklin's low on HP, and all it takes is an impact nade or somebody to just power him along with this class shield, and he's dead.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty close to death here, so it doesn't leave a lot of options, really. And the bigger issue is the clash is starting to ping, a lot of pressure coming towards you. You really need Solo to hold this perfectionately. He needs to be the iron wall that keeps these two apart. He needs to be the wall that can stop SSG aggression. But the bigger issue is that apparently he doesn't want to go for the plant yet. I think it's just a waiting period, maybe seeing if you can catch one out, but I think both teams are going to be sorely mistaken. You're not going to see Franklin overpeak this. You're not going to see a big SSG Academy overplay. You're just going to have to wait for the plant to go down and see what madness ensues. But it seems like they're ready to almost pull it out here, make a move. Solo will find one. More importantly, Kaysen gets all of them. Who even needs to use the clash? Who even needs a teammate when Kaysen can just drop them all?
Yeah, and it's, another round as well for SSG ACAD where they keep on stacking just how influential they are in terms of their early round. They're really good at finding opening picks. It's 3 rounds in a row where SSG ACAD have been successful in finding the opening pick, which is something that I highlighted. And although for LFO, the main thing wasn't to really get an opening pick. It was just to try and catch the site player off guard while they held Vending and Freezer just to get a plant down. That opening pick, along with the supporting cast from SSG ACAD to be able to at least pause the rush or shut it down to the point where they got trades to end up in the 3v2, that was still important enough, at least to propel SSG ACAD into a third round to make it 0 again for Orgless.
Yeah, and you already used your timeout. You bet everything you could address the issue early here and that you could find a way to win it. Well, you didn't, and now this is where things get very, very scary. Because suddenly you could see an SSG Academy, half where they could easily go 4-2, 5-1, maybe even a flawless 6-0. That maybe isn't the most likely, but still, it gives a lot of worry now if you're an Orgless fan, because a lot of your chips were bet just getting all the issues early, getting the timeout to fix everything, being that, just bond the team together, maybe solve a couple of the flaws, get those entries rolling in the right direction. But it hasn't happened yet, and it leaves a lot to be needed here for a comeback from Orgless.
Yeah, maybe they could start it here. The clash has been banned here from Orgless. That does still mean that you have Mira, you have Fenrir, you have Azami as well that can waste a lot of time here against Orgless, and we know how big of an issue time can be for LFO on their attacks. Getting rid of Clash is really good because that means you don't really have Retro giving you a ton of issues on the Clash anymore. You don't have to worry about a late round shield that can counter a shield like a Monty or a Blackbeard or Blitz. It's not something that Orgless are going to be exploring in this round. It's going to be a lot more default without the shields. They're gonna have Buck down below in the kitchen specifically to try and dislodge any of these players playing in sites, specifically this pillar player, which Kaysen is, or just even dislodge these mirror windows to make it more comfortable to enter into places like plant.
Yeah, and I mean, everything looks good for now, but we're still seeing players pop off here. Solo is still 5-3 despite a bit of a tumultuous start. It shows those flashes for Orgless that, maybe even if you can't have everyone go off, maybe if some people still are going to struggle despite the timeout, you have some bright spots here. That's what you have to look forward to, and that's what you really have to hedge your next bet on. You have to bet that your superstars so far, Solo, Uzi, can step up and come up and be those guys, because so far it hasn't looked like that.
And that's the thing with Orgless as well, is that it's usually just only one player, maybe 1 or 2 players. It needs to be the whole team. It needs to be a whole team effort. They also need to do a lot better on the opening picks. This is a good way to clear the mirror window. They've been able to bucket down below, use the Grim Beast to force Kaysen to not get aggressive on the windows just because it gives that info. And I mean, you kind of just have them pinned in, but outside of connector control, Orgless don't really have anything at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, a minute left. I mean, you're really struggling here, but Kaysen will find Uzi. That gap gets just a little bit larger in the entry differential. A pretty dominant run for the group so far, and it seems to continue. Now, it's what can you pick up here? Kaysen has certainly found himself in a great game. Certainly found himself back into a great playing from him. Now it's pickups from everyone else here as Smith is trying to find something from below, but instead Idrio will do it on to Scary and get more done with 30 seconds left. I mean, the gap and the time for error just keeps closing in. You're down to nothing here. There's still an even game. It's really just going to have to be a crunch of time because the smoke is here. There's no C4s at least, but there's so much you have to do. A little amount of time, and Penguin's going to start that off. Making retro as well as all the bodies falling here, but Spiff still keeps it alive. The problem is the diffuser isn't being picked up. You need to pick it up, plant all in the span of seconds here, but it doesn't matter what you do. All you have to do somehow is have something hold, but Solo can't do it all. SSG Academy clutch another one. They now go 4-0 as the dominance continues.
And yeah, I mean, the main issue, this is common when things go really wrong on the second floor attack. Just super one-dimensional, just attacking from one side, not really having any other pressure around the map, not having any other map control. Besides maybe connector and electrical, but SSG ACAT, they already have that locked down. They can hold from the opposite side. They can hold from IT. They can hold from rafters. They can hold your entry and use and have crossfires from these positions that don't include the pillar spot or tuck next to the electrical door. So yeah, that just seemed like it was like way too easy for SSG ACAT to close out, just because Orgless just didn't really have any other extra pressure points. Also, the utility game there from SSG ACAT, quite decent, because like again, it's entering crunch time. The smoke grenades are there when the diffuser is dropped by the connector wall. To kind of like force Orgless to not really pick it up for a couple of seconds. That's why Solo didn't pick it up at first, because he couldn't, because the smoke grenades were in his way and he was already a little bit low on HP. It's a 4th round in a row from SSG ACAT. This is just looking a little bit too easy.
Attackers dropped the diffuser. Attackers have recovered their diffuser. I don't like that look in your eye, Dokubi.
Sorry about the alarm goes off. I didn't think of it. Your hacker gave me that mask. Mira. Breaching here.
To be honest, maybe they could pick it up on, well, in the next 2 rounds, because I feel like, at least for labs, 4-2 is a common half. It's a half that you would want to get. 3-3 is perfect. 5-1 is a bit of a stretch for the attack. It's not something that's achievable for Orgless. It's just the 4-2 half. 3-3 is also not achievable. So 4-2 it is, and they have to get the last 2 rounds. Maybe they're a little bit better on their defense, and that's what you have to hope for.
Yeah, sorry about that, Andrew. I was muted, excuse me, for the stream.
Oh,
I don't know what that was. So a little bit of worry. We're back, though. We're all fine. But so far, it's still moving fine for SSG Academy. I mean, they haven't really had any struggle. They've had some close games. They've had some close rounds, certainly, but hasn't really seen that big fight from Orgless, as we mentioned. It hasn't been this extreme showing yet. So it's a little worrying for now, but there's at least a chance. There's always that hope that a comeback is brewing somewhere, one way or another. And if you get the 4-2, it's still very winnable. I mean, that is a fine half. The bodies go everywhere as the hatch shot finally came in. Adept is going to find both there. And they might lose a pick, sadly, if SSG Academy make that 2 now. I don't know, apparently we're very aggressive on the hatch here, and Adriel will at least slip away here. He'll get himself a chance to keep going on, maybe cause some more havoc on that first floor, but there's still at least a body of fear of Kaysen here. He can still very easily hold this for just another 30 seconds and make this a near impossible round.
yeah, and LFO have to make it their priority to not let anybody else be on this top floor. You already saw that like 1 player left. You have to assume that the second and third player are somewhere off-site, but they don't drone him! And Kaysen's just soloing LFO! What is going on?
Who needs a team when you have Kaysen? Apparently Uzi will at least stop the bleeding, put a band-aid on what is a very gaping wound right now. But miracles must come because you really need them to come your way. I mean, 4-0 down. You need this to happen. You need some miracles to just happen. You need a lucky star to come upon you. But in a spot like this, you can be pinged. You can be heard. Retro is going to finish. And it just gets even worse. The bleeding continues to hemorrhage. SSG Academy go up 5-0.
Default was up. Which default was up? Was that?
Hmm.
I don't know. There's one that's outside forklift window. There's one that's just outside of kitchen, and then there's
Mhm.
the one that's outside of like front lobby. Now, I'm gonna be totally honest. There was nobody by front lobby, so I'm assuming they're talking about the other two default cameras. Or wait, is there one by is there one by helipad? Either way, yeah, I don't really know. That just again looked like such a sloppy round from LFO in like the mid to late. Like they're clearing top floor. That's okay. That's totally fine. That's what you're supposed to do. They have no info though on Kaysen's position. Solo jumps into storage blindly, not expecting there to be a Solus up there. He didn't know. I mean, what's going on? Like it's just kind of getting a little bit too much right now. SSG ACAT, they're up 5-0, and I kind of want to talk a little bit more positively about them just because like this is exactly what you would want from Kaysen. You said earlier as well, like Kaysen's having like a tough time adjusting a little bit because this is tougher competition, and I think it was gonna take him a little bit of time. This is tougher competition, and he's showing out individually. Basically, had a solo round there against LFO, and that was really good to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is... He just needs a game. I think you give him that game like this where he can pop off. He can show he is still that top dog. This could very well be the start of something insane for him. So we'll obviously have to watch that later Playdays. But for now, he continues to just really keep getting this crazy stat line going. I mean, 8-3.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get much better than that realistically in a game, you know, like this. With a competition like this, I think everybody's had this one being a close game here. You know, something at least where it could contain itself, and it was just this, you know, it was a round for round, almost like last map, obviously, but just hasn't come to fruition so far.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything you could talk positively about, I kind of want to put an emphasis on just how decent like the SSG ACAD game plan is like going for them. Like, and it's not just like Kaysen. Like, yes, Scary's 2-4, Adept, Penguin, Retro, Kaysen are all positive, and they're just kind of all individually destroying Orgless right now. Like, this is such a good and fun defensive half to watch, just because you just have players individually popping off with impactful multi-kills. And that's completely destroying Orgless right now, who kind of look a little bit unorganized in their mid-rounds.
Got eyes on him.
I mean, yeah, it hasn't been perfect, but there's at least a chance for a pickup here. At least you can get one round. Still one more round left to clutch here. Getting damage on the Kaysen would have helped, but he'll somehow stay perfectly clean. Shots came out, but not quite big, so he'll live.
Nice.
As I say that, those solo runs right back down. The caster curse versus me once again. More importantly, there's at least this showing now. The entry finally is in an SSG Academy's favor, and there looks to be some hope at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and it's nice for Solo to have such a good game spiff with the follow-up. I think this is one of the first rounds where we not only see Orgless get like the opening pick, but also they have a man advantage. Oh, but they don't think about below. And so Orgless, they lose that initial plant spot, but you still have so much info, plus an extra nitro cell down below in basement.
Absolute madness, but we end back at an even game despite the strong start there. And Scary tries to make it even larger. He's gonna find one, lurking for another. He's gonna find that one. Triple for him now. Franklin looking for miracles to be made, but Penguin will say no. A match point in a 6-0 half for an absolute dominance from SSG Academy.
And this is just kind of crazy. We had such a good competitive game with Carn & Co. And Unity. And I thought we would get the same thing here between SSG, ACAD, and Orgless. I feel like I mentioned how much pressure there is on Orgless. There's also pressure on SSG, ACAD too, because some of their results haven't looked too convincing. Of course, they lost 7-3 to Ballsec Nation. I don't really think they were the favorites in that game anyway, but probably they had more expectations of themselves. And then against Sin Guns & Co., a team that's been giving multiple teams issue, not just SSG, ACAD, they barely won against. And to see them change base here against LFO, they look fearless. They look organized in the mid to late round. Players are just popping off individually with multi kills. SSG ACAD, they're finding entry picks. They're keeping man advantage. They're not throwing it. Like, this is just such a good game from SSG ACAD, and it's stunning Orgless right now. And I love that for SSG ACAD. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bigger thing is, I mentioned it before, you know, how if just one game happened, if this game became that point where all of SSG Academy locked in, every team should be terrified. Doesn't matter if you're Ballsack Nation, doesn't matter who you are. If we saw everything come to fruition and finally looked like this, like where all of the pieces on paper truly came to life in a match, they would be terrifying for any team to be. It's come here, and this is absolutely this big momentum shift. We need miracles to happen for Orgless to win this, but for SSG Academy, I think your purposes are achieved. You've shown that all of your players can pop off. All of them can be scary. And all teams should be scared of you now. You maybe started off weak. Yeah, I think even they'll say that. They didn't really have the greatest early start. They've absolutely proven why they're dangerous. And they've absolutely proven that they should be worried about.
It's crazy how, like, this could actually be, like, a 7-0. This is, like, the last game ever that or this season. There are other games this season as well which kind of look a little bit mismatched. This should not be one of them. I'm gonna be totally honest, but you know, maybe Orgless can be a little bit stronger, make this a little bit more competitive. On their defensive half, they brought the clash out on Franklin, who's looked like he's holding towards water hallway. That's gonna basically shut down that push. There's no shield in play for SSG ACAD and no real way to disable the clash shield, so I mean that kind of enforces it a little bit.
Yeah, and at least a pick found for the group of Orgless. They get something moving. So maybe the 7-0 isn't exactly going to happen. Getting rid of Kaysen should certainly help. I mean, he's been on a bit of a banger himself. Slowed down for the last couple of rounds there, but I mean, the dude was, I felt like every single round he would be having this massive, crazy play. So maybe he was bound to have one round where he can't drop a triple every single time. Oh no. But now you're going to see, hopefully, the plays from Orgless to try to make that up as Uzi sits here in connector, plays the more aggressive angle that I think could find himself a massive pick and hopefully a larger advantage.
And the thing is that, like, at least for Uzi's position, there's really no way to get rid of this mirror window from SSJ Acad. Yes, they could rim B it, maybe rim B right next to it so that Uzi doesn't feel compelled to swing. Okay, no, they did have a way of dealing with it. They just went down below to crack it. So Uzi can no longer play off of that. That's a good play from SSG Acad.
Sorry, I did not intend that. I was not paying attention. But Uzi will at least find another pick here. The TSG will do something. So will the Goyos, apparently. That finds the value. Whatever gets the job done. 5v2 now. A little bit more safe. Making it a 5v1. And at least seems like you saved off the flawless 7-0 here. You bought yourself just a little bit more. And maybe a comeback in the making. Who knows? We saw Furia do it once. So.
Yes, and yeah, also they did it on, like, Lab's defense, which is, like, the much stronger side, too. So maybe there is a chance for Orgless, and it would be really nice to see because I really do want this game to be super competitive, and I think Orgless are more than capable of applying that in this game on their defensive half. Their attacking half, yes, they didn't look good, but on their defensive half, they can find some comfort in it. Just like Carnico, they kind of have more of a comfort on defense than they do on attack, and this has historically been the case with, like, this LFO team ever since they were Orgless, when it was like Franklin, Inrio, Spiff, Focal, and Rival on the team. It seems to be the case here too, where they just find more comfort in defense. That's perfectly fine. It's going to be a good propeller for them. Maybe gives them some sort of confidence for a comeback potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe they can find a fairy godmother on the loose there to really make it happen. Really try to secure their chances. But there's still some hope. I think that we've seen crazy comebacks before, and
5 seconds left.
you know, I feel like a team that at least has shown the peaks that Orgless has. It's not impossible. I feel like for a team, any team in XGS, they have one of the better odds to do it. They have that potential there. We've seen them go crazy at times. They just got to do it 5 rounds in a row now.
Okay. Like how you say, it's just 5 rounds in a row in defense. It's just It's like
Yeah, it's just a light 5.
just a
Nothing
light
crazy.
5. Light work. Technically 6 rounds in a row. It's just light work.
Uh,
It can be on laps though, so I'm not holding out hope. I never hold out hope for a comeback. I love comebacks actually. You know, I love the Furia comeback against FaZe and Rio. That was really good. I love that one. That was my favorite. Or even the
we gotta
Penta
hope.
one.
Ooh, we're talking some good ball knowledge. All right,
ball.
well, let's hope we can see that. But at least Solo gets his first chance here for the entry pick. Then generally, a SSG Academy leading stab. Maybe the resurgence can be on the defense here. Instead, he'll opt to just fall off, as maybe the new play here is play it passive, just fall back, because apparently the gunfights might not be our strongest suit, but if we can delay the time enough, we can at least tip them into our favor.
Yeah, and this is like setups that like Orgless ran against like Senguns & Co., which Senguns & Co. abused against them with like aggressive, fast map control gather. They use Vert against them quite well on basement specifically for Clubhouse. This is something that SSG ACAD could also use if they can get map control quick enough. At the moment, they're still kind of just outside of the building. Scary has found his way in. That means he can make Vert above the whole of assembly. The only part that he can't really make Vert above is actually the opposite side where, no wait, he can make Vert above that. So yeah, Inrio is kind of like in a little bit of issues if he plays off that mirror window that's looking straight at the assembly double wall. But, you know, SSG ACAD, they got what they wanted. Full map control with Vert.
About a minute left, so they at least had to trade quite a bit of their time for that. It seems the zombies will buy as much as they can, but Kaysen will still find that entry. The advantage for that entry differential continues to get larger and larger. And a fallback from Spiff as well, as all of them kind of retreat here for this last push. They want to try to get it done. The one pick goes flying, can't find the second for Penguin, keeps the dream alive. Solo gets his double. He's trying as hard as humanly possible to get this one moving. Now Retro and Adept, there are a lot of the youngsters on this team. Got to try to clutch it back up and to get this one done in a nice 7-1, but making it a 1v3. You need miracles to happen with Adept in just 20 seconds. He needs to go aggressive. He finds at least that. Now a pistol in hand, and the dream to be in Rio, the last man alive for Orgless, the man to try to stop a 7-1, try to stop, you know, any level of dominance here. Wants to have the comeback, but it's ring around the rosy, and he has to swing aggressive, but none of these fights are easy, but he still finds it. Doesn't matter what happens. Game of cat and mouse, he will gladly take and win. SSG Academy wins 7-1 and dominate against Orgless.
Yeah, and at least defensively, it wasn't really much of a contest for SSG ACAD. Maybe they got a little bit frazzled on their attacks a bit, but it was only for 2 rounds, and even then it was still a clutch from Adept to close out this game from SSG ACAD. And I'm gonna be totally honest, there's really not anything that I could add that I haven't already said during the actual game, just because of how quick this affair was. And I was not expecting that. I thought this would be a more competitive game, just like the one we got with Carnico and Unity.
Yeah, I mean, there's at least one positive I can really try to get us with here is SSG Academy this is their highlight game. This is their game to say we can handle tough teams. Was this maybe the toughest team? And we'll obviously see if that's proven to be. Maybe not. But for now, this is absolutely where you want to see. It was a team that at least has looked good at points. They've had insane peaks, and you showed out perfectionly. All of the players looked well. And you saw just the end of that clutch there. Even at a point like that, they were still able to continue to keep up these crazy plays. And I think this is once again maybe a highlight of what's to come for a team like SSG Academy when they're so young. They have all of this time to develop. It's only up from here.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of your point, just to be a little bit more positive about SSG ACAD, like, it wasn't just like Kaysen, and I know he has a ton of fans just because he comes from the console streaming community. He comes from that same club of like Stompin' and also Jinxie, so of course he's gonna have a ton of eyes on him. But like everybody on SSG ACAD showed up, like you highlighted, and that's the most positive part. Like we mentioned at the beginning, when it's time for all of SSG ACAD to finally click together, whether that be strategically or individually, they are going to be a very scary team to deal with. And I kind of want to compare them a little bit to maybe Aerial Rise Academy when Ambi, Uzi, and Spiff and all of these underagers were on that roster. They're not going to be at that same level because I think AAA are just one of the best underager teams that we've ever had in R6 Tier 3 that never got to play T2. But SSG ACAD could be pretty close to that.
Yeah, I mean, This is the highlight game. This is the game to watch. This is the game to really showcase and show you guys are that team. But after just a little bit of a break, we'll have one more match for the night. See y'all in a bit.